Venture capital investing is up 41% in the first quarter of this year versus a year ago. Meantime, the number of startup acquisitions is at an all-time high. But will the money keep flowing? Our Cris Valerio is at the National Venture Capital Association meeting, and she's joined by a special guest. Cris?
That's right, Mark. Let me tell you, the people here hope the money will keep flowing. I'm with Mark Heesen. He's the president of the National Venture Capital Association. He's putting this meeting together. They were just giving some statistics about how venture capital investments are doing, up quite a bit compared to last year. Down slightly compared to the fourth quarter.
Right.
How much of that has to do with the fact that some of these VCs and a lot of them are having a hard time raising new funds?
Unquestionably, it's a rough time to be out there raising money. It's still a difficult economic environment, and you have investors who are still a little skittish about investing in venture capital over the long term. I think that's getting a little better. I think that the ice is breaking, but we still have a ways to go in that regard.
Some of the, obviously, what one of the individuals that I just spoke to, one of the venture capitalists, was saying, you know, Cris, when we have exits, IPOs and acquisitions, it makes LPs a little bit more willing to give us some money. So when you look at that environment, obviously acquisitions at an all-time high in this first quarter.
Right.
What kind of numbers are you guys running as far as how many IPOs you expect this year from your member firms?
Well, it's been an abysmal period. The last 2 years have really been rough. We had 18 IPOs in 2 years, and thus far this year we've had about 14, 15 IPOs, so that's much better. But the quality of the IPOs, some of them are good, some of them aren't that good, and I think that what we're waiting for is real stability in the marketplace and to have our companies go out and sustain themselves over the long term. I think that's still, a couple of quarters away right now. What we're happy about is that we're having a good number of companies in registration. We have about 45 companies in registration right now. So there is a stable of...
With their S-1s filings?
Exactly. So there's a good stable of companies out there to go public, but it's still not the quality of the quantity of companies that we need to really see an open IPO market.
How much would you need for that?
We'd love to see 100 IPOs a year, venture-backed companies a year going public. That will make our limited partners happy. But at the same rate, the acquisitions market, as you say, is actually quite good right now. We're not only seeing the quantity of acquisitions, we're seeing quality acquisitions going on.
Let's talk a little bit about those acquisitions. Obviously,
Sure.
Google, Apple have announced a ton of acquisitions in the last few weeks. Google yesterday announcing it wants to become a bigger VC player. It's been in the space kind of from the philanthropic side, but It really wants to actually make money from that. Do you see a lot of other major tech companies actually getting into this space and doing it as startups are cheaper?
Well, you've seen some historically been in the space. Intel has been a great corporate venture capital player, but I think that as more and more corporations understand that they need to do their R&D by buying emerging growth companies, you're going to see more and more corporates get into the space.
Does that pose a threat for the venture capital community in any way, that they're competing in any? Does that
No, I think
so many people already say, Mark, that this is an oversaturated market. VC market's oversaturated. So if all these big tech companies come in, isn't that a hard thing?
It's a symbiotic relationship. I think that you always have to look at the emerging growth company and say, are they good having a corporate player with them or not? And sometimes it is a positive. Other times, other corporates may look at it and say, well, if they're in this deal, let's say if Google's in this deal, well, then we're not going to get into that deal down the pike because they already know what's going on in that company.
And I know you guys are doing a lot with the financial reform, and we're going to talk about that with some other guests later from here at the National Venture Capital Association. Back to you guys. Thanks, Mark.
Great. Thank you.
Cris Valerio, Mr. Heesen, thank you so much.